I suppose it started actually with the women's movement and my involvement therein, and especially with women in poverty. I came from a relatively low-income background myself, so I always had a great deal of empathy with women in poverty. And I had some remarkable leaders at my undergraduate college, University of California at Riverside, who ran the National Women in Poverty Task Force for the National Organization for Women. And that ultimately landed me the job as the first paid employee for the National Organization for Women, running the legislative office in Washington, D.C. And that was a totally eye-opening experience for me. I got to testify before the U.S. Senate on federal revenue sharing with a coalition of people. And boy, that just really set my path in a sense, and that it interested me tremendously in the whole area of community development. I testified specifically on the Community Development Block Grant before its passage. So anyway, and that program is still in existence. So anyhow, that's more or less how I got started down that path. More recently, I really fell in love again with the Congress for New Urbanism while I was working in New Orleans. I had been a member of both the Congress for New Urbanism and the U.S. Green Building Council when I was in Washington, D.C. But I guess I seem to have had more allegiance toward the green building movement because that's who I sought out while I was in New Orleans. Actually, I found a very nice little grassroots movement there that I always have some kind of draw toward the grassroots people. And in any case, I was attending with some of them the charrettes that Andres Dewani was running with members from all over the country of the Congress for New Urbanism. And attending those charrettes just absolutely sold me on the idea that this was the most important path I could take with my own background and skills toward sustainability. And you know, that this was the most important message out there. Oh, formidable. I mean, just because we have, our whole federal system has been oriented at the highway and the suburban lifestyle for so long. Most of the money that's out there, certainly in transportation funds, has all been gone to build suburbia and to build roads. The new urbanists consider the street the major portion of the public realm. And we think it should be treated that way and designed for everyone, not just people who can drive cars. You know, the kids and teenagers before they get their driver's license, and the elderly, you know, can't drive cars. Then there's a whole portion of low-income people who can't drive, who don't have the income to drive cars, and then there are those of us who don't want to drive cars too. And so anyway, but you know, the whole federal money pot has been oriented toward an auto-oriented lifestyle. The most communities' zoning is also oriented toward preventing a mix of uses, and hence most banks don't want to loan to mixed-use kind of building structures and such. So there are lots of obstacles out there still. We've made great inroads over the past 25 to 30 years that the Congress for New Urbanism has been in existence. But right now, personally, I have a sort of personal vision for my own life and lifestyle that's here in downtown Portland, where I want to see a lot more of what the city is is already good at and becoming very well known for, and that's green streets and ecosystem services integrated throughout downtown, because I think our downtown, our core area, is absolutely our showcase for the rest of the world. You know, most visitors who come to Portland see downtown, and it's really important for us to have a real model here. But in terms of my business, I want to take what Portland is doing here out to the rest of the country. My 20-something-year-old nephew, for example, when he saw my website, and he's back in Fairfax, Virginia, just gushed over it and said, wow, you know, we need this here. We need it in all parts of the country, not just in Portland, you know, please get out there, do it. So anyway, but I want to see, I don't know if you've heard the term green streets, but well, basically these are streets that manage their own stormwater and filter it and return it to the earth, to the water table, rather than just let it run down to the nearest storm drain, which goes directly into a creek or river, or else into combined sewer overflow, all of which are extremely problematic for the rest of the species we share the planet with, you know, because it pollutes our water supply tremendously. Yeah, I mean, my vision would be a lot more green, utilizing native plants, because native plants support our native wildlife. And in fact, the base of our food chain, our native insects, cannot use the alien ornamentals that we have been propagating throughout our urban systems. Both here in Portland, you know, I have to say, Portland's not doing much better on this than anywhere else in the country. In fact, probably Seattle is doing better than we are. You know, utilizing native plants in rain gardens and green streets and anything that we can do to, even on green roofs, to infiltrate this stormwater that otherwise runs off and both erodes and pollutes our water supply. It erodes our land and pollutes our water supply. I believe in the ability of nature to heal. And to me, one of the things I feel like I'd been waiting for all of my life, at least, you know, my last 10 years of life, has been the Sustainable Sites Initiative. I mean, I was so overwhelmingly delighted and surprised. The first time I ever heard of it was in Washington, D.C. at the National Building Museum. An architect from Andhra talked about it, and it was, you know, and finally it came out in November of 2007, and basically it was on the same wavelength, this whole wavelength of ecosystem services, the ability of every little piece of our landscape, no matter how small, to actually help regenerate the planet. And that's what I believe in, that ability of nature to help us out if we let it. A true and deep abiding sense of community in a vibrant city. I'm through with just the escapism of getting away from it all. I want to live in an urban lifestyle, and with true love in my life.